All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich Celenza. Thanks for checking out the Rich Celenza Show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is Are You Overbranding Yourself? And I want to first off say, I'm not here to tell anybody how to brand themselves. But I'm going to kind of talk about something that I've gone through over the last decade when it comes to branding myself or having your own specific brand, which a lot of it revolves around you specifically. It's not around it could be around a company or your own company to a certain degree if you're attached or if you're branding yourself through your company. But it's mainly, I guess you could say it would be under somebody who wants to market, say they're an author, they could be a YouTuber, social media influencer in some way or another. I don't care what it is, but it's kind of more or less you pitching yourself more than probably anything else. Maybe you also have a product that you pitch that you're attached to as well. All right. And, I think one thing that I've realized, because I've been getting hit up a lot regarding this question, is, people are always asking me, how do you get a lot of exposure? How did you start your own podcast? How did you start your own YouTube or, whatever programs, all these different types of things, which is very nice. And I kind of explain it to them. But what has happened to me recently, I should say, especially through the pandemic, is getting sick of myself and exhausted from social media in general. If you've been listening to my previous podcasts, especially with my co-host Robert, we kind of been discussing this as, it's never enough sometimes. And because I had a year from not traveling and a year to really market myself, which included my books, my programs, my YouTube, my podcast, all these different types of things, I found myself kind of overexposing myself, I believe, kind of getting sick of just social media in general, all the work and time it put out there. And I also thought about, this is just my personal perception, I think people got sick of me as well regarding certain things. Because I know a lot of people that are, self-promoters, I guess you could say, social media influencers, whatever you want to say, online, pitching their products or their brand. And after a certain time, instead of me, being interested in what they're doing, it kind of turns you off. They exhaust you. And I thought that about myself. Am I exhausting people? Am I actually getting people where they're engaged or they're interested? Or am I turning them off because I'm putting out too many things or I have too many platforms? And I think sometimes, we become very, I don't want to say obsessed with ourselves to a certain degree and addicted to certain things. It could be attention online. And we talk about this all the time with maybe even teenagers where, the endorphin kick, where you see people liking your stuff, comments, sharing. It's all great stuff if, I believe if it's positive. But I do think there comes a point when you kind of are branding yourself where you don't realize, what is enough. I think a lot of times we're still programmed more is better, more eyes is better, more traction is better. But the reality is a lot of times just because you're getting a lot of traction, where is that traction leading? So if I have, if you're pitching something or you're selling something and you get 50,000 people to review it, but you don't sell any of them, or you don't sell your product, you get a few, would you be better off just kind of pitching to, obviously focusing in on people that are interested in what you're doing? And if you self-promote or you do all these things online, you know that. But I want people to just really sometimes take a hard look at how they're kind of marketing themselves. And for one, figure out, do they actually like kind of, or I should say, do they not like doing this anymore? Because I think what happens, it happened to me, and I think a lot of people that, market their brand online, is they get exhausted. And instead of being inspired or experimenting or maybe moving on to other things, they're afraid to change either their identity or just slow down the process. Because if you're somebody who's posting a certain amount on, say, LinkedIn, Twitter, I don't care where it's at, it could be on Facebook, whatever, all these different types of things, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. And this is what happened to me. Then I just got exhausted from doing it. I didn't find myself actually growing anymore. I was so kind of self-obsessed with kind of, don't get me wrong, getting my material out there. But even on my YouTube and my podcast, when I was doing a lot of things, they're basically the same shit after a certain amount of time. And I think sometimes, we look at marketing ourselves kind of like almost how people advertise, say, on television or online as well. But I will tell you the one thing I think I learned more than anything lately is, less is more. I really believe it. You have to be interesting and keep people interested in what you're doing. It's almost like the fashion industry. It's kind of about the new arrival, the new line coming out. And, if you're kind of somebody who, you had something new for a while and you're still marketing it year after year, and I'm not saying it's in or out of style or out of date or whatever I'm trying to say, but if you're going to market yourself, you really have to take a hard look at yourself, because you've probably looked at tons of others when it comes to them personally. They get stuck in ruts and they're in a loop. And like I said earlier, before you know it, instead of wanting to listen to them or look at what they're doing, you're turned off, you're exhausted. You actually almost, and this could be for friends, family members, colleagues, or even people you follow that you don't know on social media, influencers, it could be celebrities, athletes, whatever the case may be, you burn out. And if you may be doing the same, is what I'm trying to say. So I just wanted to really do a podcast on this, because I just think a lot of people don't really, after a certain amount of time, realize that they're not growing either, I think, a lot of times. So I'll just say, for instance, I'm going to be taking on a new endeavor, but I'm always doing this. I'm not somebody who sticks with one thing forever. But I realize this about myself. I'm not interested now in always branding myself. If other people want to help, are interested in what I'm doing and share my content or whatever, that's wonderful. I'm still going to do my podcast. I'm not going to be doing a lot of YouTube videos. I'm not going to probably be posting a lot of things personally anymore, just because I feel like I've saturated the market. The reality is, how many more photos can I take of myself doing things? I got a bunch of quotes and certain things I could also post. But I want to find a brand for myself where other people help me build a brand. But it's not just me. It's something that hopefully they will enjoy. Because I think the brands that last the longest a lot of times are the ones that people engage with and want to share and enjoy and kind of want to grow with. And I think when it comes to us personally, that's hard to do. I mean, sure, you're going to have a certain amount of people. Now, again, if you're a celebrity, I don't care if you're a musician, actor, athlete, that's different, because you already have a massive audience, not only through your personal brand, but most likely through the brand that you work for. You also may get attached to other brands, hypothetically, that are billion-dollar brands, so they're going to also get a lot of eyes and ears on you as well. You're most likely not that person. So it's all kind of falling on you to do these things, which is hard. But even if you look at a lot of people that do have strong following online or a personal brand, I do think what they do master is growing and experimenting, doing unique things. And if you also look at a lot of people, you may have looked over the last decade, a lot of people that came in and out and that you don't even hear about anymore, I think they just didn't have enough in the tank to keep going. That may be you. I kind of think about musicians a lot of times. A lot of times if you look at great musicians or great bands, they only had so much in the tank. That doesn't mean they can't play millions of songs, or thousands of songs, I should say, or write tons of songs. But a lot of times their songs or certain albums, I guess you could say, worked for that specific time. And then for the most part, then they kind of, just kind of weeded out. Some sustained. But for the most part, I think if you're somebody who is branding yourself, too, I would also consider is not just making everything about you, is also kind of teaming up with others and kind of just having fun. I think a lot of times, and I'll wrap it up with this, a lot of times when we start branding ourselves, and I've been there, you want to be seen in a certain light. Like you want to look a certain way all the time. You want your brand to match. It may be the way you're dressed, what you do, your verbiage, again, your images, your quotes, your videos, all these things, and I get it. But I'm going to tell you, man, the more authentic and genuine you are at this point in time, I think the better off you're going to be. I was somebody who loved wearing dress clothes all the time. So I would, for the most part, a lot of images was me either traveling or kind of dressed up after a while. But then I said, I live in Florida. Most of the time when I was home, I was always in athleisure wear, or I was in shorts and a t-shirt, or, I lived an entirely different lifestyle than I was kind of showing online. I finally said to me, the more genuine I'm going to be, at least for my own sake, social media-wise, is the more comfortable I'm going to be. And I do think a lot of people who self-promote themselves box themselves into a corner. And after a certain amount of time, and it could be either way. I don't care if it's fitness. I don't care if it's fashion. I don't care if what your brand is. You could be selling pools for all I know. Have some fun and really just experiment and try different things, because what you think, like if you're doing something for a while and it's working and you're very successful, great. But I think most people, when they really market themselves or their own personal brand, they have a lot of ups and downs, a lot of downs, really more than anything else. They're not getting as much attention as they want, probably not getting as many sales as they want, all those type of things. And you just being yourself and experimenting again, because what's crazy is, I will say, my YouTube videos that have the most views are the ones I really thought would get the least. The videos I thought that would do the best got the least. Same with my podcast subjects. The ones I thought would be like, these are the ones, or this one's going to be great. No one gave a shit. It was something out of left field. So my point being is, when you personally brand yourself, I would, more than anything, one is not burn anybody out on all your material. And I get you want to get everything out, your voice out, your videos out, and all that shit. Do whatever you got to do. But also, if you're not succeeding, okay, which a lot of people are not succeeding, they're not getting the views, the likes, the shares, the comments, keep experimenting. Try different things. I always talk about that. I believe that's the key to life in general. You'll find things sometimes that you would never expect to be successful, or what people will gravitate to. Because I think a lot of us, we market ourselves the way we kind of want to be seen and what we're attracted to. But if you think about it, that doesn't mean that other people are attracted to that. I learned that from my first clothing line. I designed all these different clothes that I thought people would love to wear. Then I realized, you know what? Not a lot of people dress like this. This is how I dress. This is how I want to look. So it was just a big eye-opener. Anyways, I could go on, but please pay attention to this. And if you're burnt out on social media for a while, what I wouldn't recommend is just kind of like canceling everything out. If you're tired, just post a lot less. But don't, I think a lot of people they get fed up, at least that I see, even if you're marketing something and you after a year or two you don't get any traction, or you just get sick of social media and people shut their accounts down for a while, or all that stuff. I wouldn't fall off the face of the earth. I would always try to, get something, out there to keep yourself going as a personal brand. But, I wouldn't just shut everything down unless you want to. So I do see that happening as well. All right? Anyways, do what the hell you got to do. Got any questions or comments, hit me up. Take care and have a great weekend. What is today? Oh, it's my mother's birthday, March 5th. All right, happy birthday, Ma. Take care.